When most men think about communication, they think about words. We spend a lifetime learning how to talk, how to reason, how to explain. But in relationships, especially when it comes to closeness and intimacy, touch often speaks louder than any word ever could. For men, especially as we grow older, this is something we can sometimes overlook. We focus on what we want to say, but forget the power of how we make our partner feel with even the smallest touch. Now, let's pause here. Why does touch carry so much weight? From a medical perspective, touch activates a series of responses in the body. When you touch gently and with care, it triggers the release of oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. This hormone doesn't just lower stress, but it also strengthens trust and builds emotional safety. And the truth is, for many women, touch is not just physical, it's deeply emotional. It's about connection, reassurance, and understanding. Think about it this way. Words can be misunderstood, but a warm hand on the shoulder or a reassuring squeeze of the hand communicates something words cannot. It says, I am here with you. I value you. I care. And if we as men forget this, we risk making our relationships feel cold or mechanical, even if we mean well. Here's something important. Touch doesn't have to mean sexual touch. In fact, for women, non-sexual touch often lays the foundation for intimacy. A gentle hand on the back, a hug without expectation, or even sitting close enough to feel safe. These things matter more than we realize. Many men fall into the trap of thinking physical closeness must always lead to sex, but when touch becomes a language of comfort and appreciation, it transforms the way a woman feels about us and about the relationship itself. And let me tell you why this matters even more after 40, 50, and beyond. As men age, testosterone levels naturally decline. This sometimes affects our energy, our drive, even our patience. We may become more focused on performance and less on presence. But here's the catch. Women, too, value presence over performance. A soft, thoughtful touch calms her nervous system, reduces her stress hormones like cortisol, and allows her to feel truly at ease with you. And when she feels safe, the connection between you grows stronger, physically and emotionally. Touch also reminds us that intimacy is not a race, it's a journey. One of the biggest secrets men need to understand is that women respond to gradual warmth. Quickness often feels rushed, but steady, consistent, intentional touch builds anticipation and trust. If you slow down, you will actually find that your partner responds with more openness because she feels respected and understood. Now, I want to highlight something important here. This isn't about being perfect or knowing some magic trick. It's about awareness. Many older men tell me, Doc, I don't know what she really wants. But in truth, most women want the same basic things: gentleness, patience, and understanding. Touch communicates all of those if we learn how to use it wisely. And let's not forget the psychological side. For men, touch can be instinctive and physical. For women, it often carries meaning. A touch that says, I notice you, I appreciate you, or I respect you, is worth more than 1,000 words. When a woman feels that kind of care, she doesn't just feel touched, she feels seen. And being seen, truly seen, is one of the deepest desires in any human relationship. So here's the takeaway for this first part. If you want to understand what women secretly want about touch, start by shifting your mindset. Touch is not only about physical pleasure, it's about emotional presence. It's about slowing down, paying attention, and allowing touch to become a language of love. Stay with me, because in the next part, I'm going to break down the common mistakes many men make when it comes to touch and how to avoid them. Number 2 is the one I see most often, and it surprises a lot of men. Now that we've seen why touch matters more than words, let's turn to something many men get wrong without even realizing it: the common mistakes in how they use touch. These mistakes don't happen because men don't care. They usually happen because no one ever taught us that touch can mean so much more than a quick gesture. But if we want lasting intimacy, we have to understand these errors and replace them with better habits. The first mistake is rushing. Many men, especially as they get older, can fall into the habit of moving too fast. This comes from years of thinking that touch is only a prelude to something physical. But here's the truth. For women, the slower and more patient the touch, the safer and more valued they feel. Think of it like this. Touch is not a switch you flip on. It's more like a fire you build carefully. If you go too fast, the flame dies out. But when you take your time, the warmth spreads. The second mistake, and this is the big one, is touching without attention. Too often, touch can become routine or mechanical. A quick pat or a hurried hug or even intimacy that feels more like a checklist than a connection. Women notice when touch has no presence behind it. If your mind is somewhere else, she will feel that lack of focus. Real touch means being fully present, your mind, your body, your attention. It's not about what comes next, it's about what's happening in that very moment. Another mistake is thinking quantity matters more than quality. Some men believe that more touch automatically means more connection, but it's not about how often, it's about how meaningful. A single thoughtful touch can be more powerful than 10 careless ones. For example, putting your hand on her hand while looking her in the eye says far more than a distracted hug while checking your phone. The fourth mistake is ignoring non-sexual touch. Like we said earlier, touch that isn't tied to physical intimacy is often the most important kind. Women want to feel that your touch is about them, not just about your own desire. When you give a back rub without expecting anything in return, or you hug her simply to show care, it creates emotional safety. And emotional safety is what opens the door to deeper connection later. Now, here's a big one. Confusing pressure with presence. Some men think that stronger, firmer touch shows strength, but often women respond more to gentleness and variation than to force. Touch is not about proving your strength, it's about proving your awareness. A gentle caress, a soft trace along the arm, or even holding her hand with care communicates something far deeper than pressure ever could. And finally, perhaps one of the most overlooked mistakes, forgetting consistency. A lot of men show tenderness only during intimate moments, but touch outside of those times, when you're sitting together on the couch, walking side by side, or even saying goodbye in the morning, shows that your connection is bigger than one act. Consistent, thoughtful touch tells her that she matters to you always, not just when you want something. So, how do we avoid these mistakes? The answer is simple but powerful. Be intentional. Slow down. Pay attention. Shift your focus from performance to presence. Think of touch not as a goal, but as a gift. When you reframe it this way, your partner feels valued in ways that last long after the moment is gone. And let me give you a medical perspective to back this up. When touch is slow, gentle, and consistent, it lowers stress hormones like cortisol in her body and increases oxytocin, the hormone of trust and bonding. This combination creates a deep sense of calm and safety, which is exactly what strengthens intimacy over time. For men, when we learn to master this, not only does our partner feel more connected, but we also experience less stress, lower blood pressure, and more emotional stability ourselves. So in truth, both sides win. Here's the takeaway for this section. Mistakes in touch are not failures. They are opportunities. If you notice yourself rushing, being distracted, or only offering touch when you want something, it's not too late to change. Awareness is the first step, and practice makes progress. Stay with me because in the next section, I'll share the practical, natural ways you can use touch to create stronger emotional bonds. And number 3 is one that almost every man overlooks, but women secretly crave. Now that we've seen the common mistakes and how to avoid them, let's talk about the practical side, what you can actually do starting today. Remember, this is not about complicated techniques or rehearsed routines. It's about being natural, intentional, and consistent. These are simple changes, but they create powerful results. The first way is small daily touches that don't need a reason. Think about placing your hand on her shoulder when you pass by, giving a soft touch on the back as you walk together, or even just brushing her hand when you sit side by side. These little gestures might seem ordinary, but they build what psychologists call emotional deposits. Every gentle touch adds to the emotional bank account of your relationship. Over time, those deposits grow into trust, security, and connection. The second way is eye contact plus touch. Too often, touch happens without attention, but when you combine a hand on hers with looking her in the eyes, you multiply the meaning. Studies show that eye contact increases oxytocin, the trust hormone, in both people. So if you want her to feel truly seen and valued, pair touch with presence. Don't underestimate how powerful this combination can be. The third way, and this is the one most men overlook, is non-sexual physical closeness. This means holding her hand while you're watching TV, sitting close on the couch, or keeping a hand on her knee while driving. You're not asking for anything. You're simply showing comfort and companionship. This type of touch tells her, I enjoy being close to you, no matter what. And for many women, this is the missing link they crave the most. Number 4 is comfort touch during stress. If she's had a hard day, your touch should be steady, calming, and patient. A hug that lasts longer than usual, a hand on the back of her neck, or simply sitting with your arm around her. These actions lower stress hormones in the body. As a urologist, I can tell you that chronic stress harms not only emotional health, but also physical health, including men's testosterone levels and overall energy. So when you provide calming touch, you're not just helping her, you're helping yourself too. The fifth way is ritual touch. This means making touch part of your daily routine, almost like a habit. For example, always kissing her goodbye in the morning, holding her hand when you pray or walk, or giving a shoulder squeeze when you sit down to eat together. These little rituals create stability, and stability is what long-term relationships need, especially as we age. The sixth way is listening with touch. When she's sharing something important, place your hand gently on hers or on her back. Don't interrupt, don't fix, just listen. Touch in this context is not about leading, it's about supporting. It tells her, I'm here, I'm listening, and I'm not going anywhere. That reassurance can mean more than any advice you could ever give. And here's the seventh and maybe the most important touch that says thank you. Gratitude expressed through touch is deeply bonding. It could be holding her hand and saying, I appreciate you, or pulling her close when she does something kind. Gratitude plus touch creates a feedback loop that strengthens intimacy and keeps bitterness out of the relationship. When you put these into practice, you're not just touching her body, you're touching her heart, her sense of safety, and her trust in you. And here's the beautiful part. Your own body responds too. Men who practice gentle, intentional touch often report feeling calmer, more connected, and even more confident. Medical studies support this. Regular affectionate touch lowers blood pressure, reduces stress, and increases emotional well-being. So here's the final thought. Touch is not about performance, it's about presence. It's about showing up in the moment with intention and care. You don't need fancy words or complicated plans. You just need to use your hands, your attention, and your consistency. That's the real secret. Now, if this video gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit the like button so more men can learn these truths. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more advice on men's health, intimacy, and well-being. And share this video with a friend who needs to hear it. Sometimes just one change in how we use touch can transform an entire relationship. Stay intentional, stay present, and remember, the little things you do every day are often the biggest things in the end.